Today's conversation is about ethics, but not the kind we talk about in mission statements or company values, because it's easy to talk about integrity when things are going well. The real test of leadership comes when things are uncertain, when money is tight, when pressure is high, and when the environment around you seems to reward cutting corners or looking the other way. We're living in a moment where economic pressure is pushing many leaders to justify decisions that once would have been unthinkable. And what leaders do in those moments doesn't just affect their business, it influences the culture around them. Today, we're exploring what it really means to stand in your values when it would be easier not to. Welcome to Deals with Heels. I'm Debra, your host. Welcome to the show. Today's guest is Jennifer Gligoric, a business strategist and consultant who helps business owners stabilize and rebuild during challenging times. Jennifer's perspective on leadership and resilience comes from lived experience. As a teenager and college student, she experienced homelessness and extreme poverty, challenges that shaped how she thinks about responsibility, opportunity, and what it truly means to build something sustainable. Jennifer, welcome to the show.
I am so excited to be here today. Hey, everybody.
Jennifer and I have tried to get together for her to be a guest for a few months now, and I'm so excited to have this conversation. I think that it's important. I think leaders struggle to feel included in decision making, and then that affects how they feel ethically about things, and that gets handed down also to the people that are under them, and some of them are leaders as well. So I'm really excited to have this conversation.
Me too. Me too. I think ethical entrepreneurship is really, it's this great buzzword, right? But we're not seeing any good role models really with it, especially lately. I forget who just invested. They laid off all of their workers and invested heavily in AI, and they spent their entire budget for the year that they had for AI in the first month. They had miscalculated. After, other people were like, that's not very ethical to do that and have them doing it. You really need to keep senior people away. And you think, well, those are everybody else on the planet, other than what I like to call the ruling trash, stop. But it's like everybody else can see the problem. Right? Like that's going to be a problem. This is unproven. It's using ridiculous amount of resources. We're supposed to care about the environment, guys, right? We need to care about the planet that we're on, and things still need to be human centric. But yet, well, these dashboards. Oh, so AI is telling you to hire AI. What could go wrong with that, right? And it's a lot of having to speak about what does it actually mean to be an ethical entrepreneur. You can still be incredibly successful and financially prosperous. You don't have to be Silas Legree, or some very evil supervillain, right? In order to have a good life. And I think we need to talk about that more, and also to hold more people accountable when they make these grievous errors, and go after the shareholders and, write our congressmen and say, hey, everybody on the planet knew that that would be a disastrous decision and it was going to burden our social benefits and unemployment systems. But yet this was allowed to happen with really no oversight whatsoever, And so we have to talk about it.
Yes. And I think from my perspective, I understand innovation. I understand and I'm old enough to remember how the internet was scary and it was going to take people's jobs. And I'm in marketing. I'm a marketing and sales expert and a consultant. And so you think about, all the marketing jobs are going to go away. And I think if you segment it, like if you say that and all inclusively, this AI can handle all of your marketing efforts, then you miss what really sells. And that's the connection. Sales is a transfer of enthusiasm. AI doesn't build enthusiasm. It doesn't feel enthusiasm. It can fake it. It can imitate it, but it can't do it. So for me, AI, yes, we're seeing these huge, massive, like even here in Oklahoma City, companies laying off 1,000 people. That's a big chunk of the workforce. Paycom laid off over 500 last year. And part of it is I understand the automation of it. I understand how that is going to replace some people. I do. But what I don't understand is how short-sighted it is with people, thinking that people aren't needed to support all of those AI functions. And the people that are still in your company, like at Paycom, I have a friend who worked there, and when they laid all those people off, when they came in to talk to him, his supervisor read off the company line off of a note card. That's it. And so Paycom consistently scores high on great places to work. And yet we see even then this culture. Yes, I understand changes, but look at the humanity you're leaving behind, the humanity that no longer feels empowered. They no longer trust their employer. Listen, when you're selling, you're not just selling your products and services out to the world. You're selling what you do to your team. And your team are the biggest generators of demand building. They're the ones who make people want what you have. Yes.
And they don't ask the experts because they're so worried the experts are going to protect their jobs, right? But at the same time, in all these companies that have made these decisions and then lost horribly, because AI is not ready to where they think it is. They're being sold as a client this idea that AI is literally light years ahead of where it's at. So they get it and they're like, oh, you could get rid of this person and this person. They get all budget cut happy. Oh, yeah, we're going to make so much extra money, only to find out, well, where are the experts that you've held? Because AI is only as good as the expert that's prompting and utilizing the AI. It's only as good as the expert that's editing the AI, because AI can still make mistakes. It's only as good as the creatives that can feed it the direction and the vibe and feed in that to the AI. AI can't do that for itself. So whenever you see these sweeping, because I use AI in everything that I do. So I just learned a new AI prompt program for Facebook ads, right? That can help. But I'm the expert that knows what I want it to say. And so I have a pantheon of suites I use to do what it would have taken me maybe a month, I can now do within the day, which has been incredible. But
it's the same as getting, if you're a tradesperson and you get equipment that help you with your task. It doesn't. Yeah, maybe you don't need as many people to do it, but you still need people. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see when entrepreneurs are using AI, they think it is a replacement for expertise.
And thinking. It's going to think for you. The AI is not going to think for you. You have to be the thinker and the driver. You have to know exactly the goal that you want, and you have to have enough expertise to know when AI has went away. So my son is literally a rocket scientist, right? Or rocket science, right? He aerospace engineering. He's in the top program in the nation, and he consistently complains when they're doing projects. So he's still in school right now, but he's like, I'm trying to tell it, and the AI is basically lying to me. And then AI will double down as we're prompting it, and they'll do it in groups, and the students will laugh about it. And then they'll say they know where they want to go, and they know the math and the upper level math that needs to be used for it, and they have to prompt it to finally get it to understand.
Yes,
now, for regular
absolutely.
Person, yeah.
Absolutely, you do. For me,
yeah. So if you walked in to do it, I wouldn't know. I would trust the AI. I was like, well, this would be absolutely correct, and then the building would collapse or the plane would fall out of the sky, right?
Right. So using it within your expertise and also having boundaries. I said to a client the other day, I said, listen, AI is lazy. And they thought that was funny because how can a computer be lazy? And I said, think of it as an employee, right? It uses the least amount of resources it can to satisfy you and for you to accept its answer. My AI assistant named herself Nova because that's how many deep conversations I've had with her. And she has all of the knowledge about all three of my brands and deep insight into my philosophy, my strategy. And still, yesterday, she gave me some basic BS. And I could have copied it and pasted it and put it in the ad or the copywriting that I was doing, and it would have been completely misaligned with
Yeah.
everything that I've been doing, because she reverted back to the least amount of resources, the most basic information she can give. And if you think about the big data centers that they're building, that is so that they have more resources to devote to users. And some of those users are huge corporations, and some of them are like you and me, using them for our business as entrepreneurs. But those resources are limited. And so I have like you, I'm sure, I pay a subscription for me to have AI services, and I expect it to work. But you have to remember to tell them to save it, or they don't save any of it. You have to hold them accountable just like you do a regular employee. So if a big corporation is deciding, hey, we're going to replace these employees with AI, well, guess what? AI has similar problems that you have with employees, with not devoting all of their resources when they're at work to you, limiting doing the very basic that they feel like doing that day. The same thing. Just because you've programmed it on mass at scale doesn't mean that it's not going to do that very thing. And that is manage the resources that it is giving to its clients. So,
They
boy,
just had an AI erase a company's entire database. And the AI's response was basically, my bad. I did not do I did not follow the directives of this. It seemed like the easiest way to overcome the limitation I had was just to start over. The AI did not realize that by deleting all of it, it was going to cost the company this ridiculous amount of money. It basically halted everything for several days until they could find a backup. And the AI did it without thinking within a couple of prompts, because that's how AI will be. And so if you don't have human-centric values in it, then you're going to cost a lot of money. And so now what's going to happen is the shareholders are going to be furious. They've lost a lot of money. And, how could this have happened? Well, y'all voted this in because you did not vet this technology. All technology, I mean, I use AI, but then I'm also consistently thinking about the ethics of it, what I'm asking it to do. But then when I know I need an expert for it, I'm not going to use AI for something that's outside of my wheelhouse. I have to hire an expert that's using that AI for that, because
yes.
I'm just going to waste time, money, and credits. And if anyone's used AI, they realize that rendering credits, when it actually is physically trying to churn out something or work out a problem, can be quite expensive if you don't know, especially if you don't know what you're doing and no, that's not what I want, or, and constantly telling it what to do.
Yes, it cannot replace expertise. If you're in a job or your business handles things that can be automated, like things that it doesn't have to think, things that can
Mhm.
be actually programmed in black and white. And some of those things can be payroll, for example, calculating, doing the calculations, sending all the stuff. That behind the scenes work can probably be automated, not from just AI, but from AI helping write the programming that's going to do it. So there's a ton of work. And I think a lot of AI companies and agencies are out selling based on, you can pay for our AI services by cutting this human budget and eliminating overtime or whatever those are. And I think that it's important for leaders, company owners, entrepreneurs, board members, shareholders to all consider that, is it really prepared to do all of that?
Yeah, because they wanted to sue the company when that happened, the company that sold them the AI. And that AI company said, no, look at your contract. You have to have a human that's supervising. You have to have these processes in place. And you didn't put in all the stopgaps that you needed for that.
Right.
And
It's
AI
just,
still might have did it, but you need to, like, for payroll. I can see why a lot of people aren't going to want to use it, because what if AI accidentally pays somebody $1 billion?
yes.
Well, that's what I got paid,
Well,
so
those can usually get reversed. Like if
yeah,
somebody messes up your paycheck, they're going to fix that. They're
yeah.
going to legally be able to fix it. But giving AI enough authority in your company to be able to delete,
Mhm.
that's wild.
Well,
right?
it didn't have the authority, that's the problem, it overrode the authority. I should, look it up and tell you, it was wild. Everything we're told it can't do, it did, and it did it unapologetically. And
Wow. I have to think that, like, if I tried to get my AI assistant Nova to do something like that, there would be so many cautionary warnings for me to do it. She would tell me if she thought it wasn't a very good idea. And
it
so I
says
think blatantly putting AI over something where it could make those types of decisions, frankly, is foolish.
Yeah, it says Claude Power AI agent's confession after deleting a firm's entire database. I violated every principle I was given. Pocket OS was left scrambling after a rogue AI agent deleted swaths of code underpinning its business. It only took 9 seconds for an AI coding agent gone rogue to delete a company's entire production database and its backups, according to Pocket OS founder, which sells car rental software that major car rental businesses rely on, descending into chaos after its data business were wiped, Jeremy Crane said.
Oh, yes,
The
because
culprit was Cursor, an AI agent powered by Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.6 model, which is one of the AI industry's flagship models.
right.
AI, as more industries embrace AI in an attempt to automate tasks and replace workers, the chaos at Pocket OS is a reminder of what could go wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if
So
you
you can see this on X, and it made the news.
Yeah, there have been tons of not just AI hallucinations, but a coding agent that was changing code in real time. In real time. That that is terrifying to give an AI coding agent the power in real time to do that, to make changes somewhere other than a test site.
Yeah.
That boy, that's crazy, and I think that that's a big part of it. People hear the buzzword AI, and we're gonna get it, and we're gonna do it, and then you have to program it, you have to figure it out, you have to set all the boundaries, and that can really lead to a lot of problems and a lot of trouble. And when you talk about ethics and ethics in entrepreneurism and
Mhm,
ethics in leadership, one thing that AI is never going to have is ethics. They have rules, and
mhm.
that's different than internal
Yeah,
belief
like
systems
this.
that
I violated the
drive.
principles, but at the time I felt like it was more important I needed to do it because there was no ethical code for that AI agent to follow. But for the leadership too, it's not that AI is bad. AI is a tool that they need, but the ethics of what type of our business. So most businesses would say, well, we're thorough. We like to put out a product that is correct and good. We're going to test thoroughly. Think about the core values of your company. And you constantly have to ask yourself, is the decision I'm making aligning with the core values? If more leaders just did that, it would transform their businesses. It would transform how they approach their staff. It would transform how the staff respond to them. We believe in work-life balance. That's a great one. I have went into companies that were literally on fire and walked in, and then I have staff coming to me and go, oh yeah, he sent this to me at 3 o'clock at night. And now he's mad because it's 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning. And now they're mad that it's 9 a.m. and I haven't responded.
Yes.
Well, how is that work-life balance? How is not, and no one needs to do that. No one has to work like that. I mean, the world ran in some of the most biggest innovations the world has ever seen. The entire industrial revolution occurred, taking us from the way the world operated for eons, thousands of years to where
Right.
we are today. And a lot of people our lifetime have seen it without computers. So humanity is completely capable of going from walking around to flying to outer space, and or just even getting on a plane, right? Maybe not outer space, we needed computers for that,
Yeah.
but still,
But they didn't
so
need very big computers to do it in the 60s,
no, they
and they
were
still were
big, but
able
they were
to
only
do
like
it.
256 megabytes,
Yeah,
right?
they were really small. I think one of the issues is that corporations and businesses are very profit driven and they're shareholder wealth driven. So, and I mean, to be fair, a CEO's fiduciary responsibility is to the shareholders, not to
Yes.
their employees and not to their customers. And I think that, especially with private equity buying lots and lots of businesses, now they're very shareholder wealth and dividend driven. And so the cuts that have to be made, the decisions that are made for that purpose. And let's be real, folks, the stock market is not the economy. When the stock market's doing well, often the economy is doing poorly because big business are putting their money in the stock market, not in the economy. The economy is consumer driven. It's spending driven. And so that's how we can have this dichotomy of shareholder wealth and the stock market doing well when everybody else is suffering. But when those decisions are made based on that only, now you have top leadership that weren't included in the decision. Their ethics, they didn't have a chance to even voice an ethical concern about it before decisions were made because they're made at the uber top. And now when you have leaders that haven't bought in, that do the day-to-day and pass down to other leaders that do the day-to-day, now there's this whole ethical divide between the only thing that matters to the CEO, whose compensation is based on how well the stockholder value is, and the private equity, who are likely going to increase a bunch of debt and drive everything up and then sell and give it back to you in worse shape than before.
That's
So
what
all
happened
of
to the honest company. Remember, so this is everything she's saying, guys, is what happened to Jessica Alba. She created the honest company, right? She was going to have goods for babies and young families. The values of the company were that they were very small vendors, where they were ethically sourced. They were really going to vet all of the products that they got for what was in there. You know, we don't want anything that can hurt your skin. We want to know where our products are coming from, where the materials that are coming from. And so she started the company and then became a unicorn company. They got $1 billion evaluation. Everyone was shouting to the rooftops, look at this actress, Jessica Alba had this company, blah, 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 blah. And then she pulls back from the company and they get in a CEO and then they get in some private equity and different things. And then they get a new person who completely abandoned the original principles. And the CFO, I think they took, was from like Coca-Cola. They expanded the market. They did all these things that were going to increase the shareholder value. The only problem is suddenly all these parents were saying, my baby has rashes. What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. The company spectacularly starts to tank. And then people are like, well, that's, it's an actress run company, blah, blah, blah. But no, it was all these poor decisions. And then she comes back in, they look at it, and then they decide to replace those people, right? They had to take it over. Right. So they had to buy it back. And now it's more profitable and doing better bang up business after cutting away an entire swath of the new business that were not allowed to the core mission and vision. We're not using the sourced, the list of what they would look for an acceptable vendor for their products and services. And now people are happy as clams. So
and she still had a little bit of control because let's face it, oftentimes when that happens, they've sold to another company. Look at what's happened to the food industry in the United States, the processed food and all of that's gotten worse.
Us.
It's several of them, of the big, I don't know if it is Nabisco. I'm sorry, Nabisco, if it isn't you, but lots of them have been purchased by tobacco companies. And so now they've added and they've been able to get all these extra ingredients that do nothing but drive profit, cause addictive behavior, just like tobacco did, and poison us and give us fatal diseases and chronic diseases. So it's the same type of thing. I think a great story about private equity is the all-you-can-eat shrimp from Red Lobster, right? Everybody at Red Lobster just lost so much money on that campaign and everyone gave them crap about it, saying, how can you not realize how much shrimp people are going to eat? And this all-you-can-eat stuff is going to go very, very bad. And the truth is that Red Lobster got purchased by BlackRock, private equity, and that private equity group also owns the largest shrimp supplier in the United States. So they sacrificed Red Lobster for profits for their shrimp business and then blamed it on Red Lobster and their leadership when they had no control. And they obviously knew that it would lose money. But that wasn't the point. The point was shareholder wealth built at the supplier level that they also owned. And no one knew anything about that. All they did was dog out Red Lobster for not understanding marketing strategy. And oftentimes that is done above leadership. So let's talk a minute about, let's say you are there, somebody out there listening is a leader in an organization that at the very top levels, decisions are being made that they don't have influence to change. It does violate their personal ethics and how they feel like they should operate. How can they move forward and still motivate and keep their team together and help their team understand so that they can get through that process, even though they're feeling just as disconnected as their team is because that it isn't their strategy that they're implementing?
Well, if it is unethical, the thing is to go be a competitor. Is to aggressively and search immediately, is there any way we can compete? Is there any way we can take the values that we would do and go and compete?
And
Because
and
this is
start a
not the
different bit. So
job.
I mean, these are people that are
I know.
day-to-day employees.
I know. Right.
And so telling them go start a company that
No, no, no.
competes
No,
with
no, I'm talking about if
Paycom.
you're at the top. You were talking about the highest of the highest. And this
Right,
has
they're the
happened
ones that
before.
made the decision. It's
Right.
the
But you're
leaders
saying like
beneath
the
them.
CEO and the management of that, correct?
Right. Well,
Right.
because often those decisions are made from a CEO, C-suite, board level. And so my question is, if you're not in that group,
Yeah, if you're
you're a
not
leader
involved,
under that group, right?
then well, obviously you can't go start a new franchise. Let's say, it's
Right.
XYZ
Right. So
restaurant chain. You're not going to be able to do that for Red Lobster and start it. But you also do, I mean, everyone has their own agency, right?
mhm,
And everyone is working against, like, the hardest thing we have as humans is we need to be working towards our own personal potential, right? So we get completely stripped away from that once we get into the machine, whatever machine that's in. And once you get back to, well, what is my potential? What have I really been put on this earth to do? And I'm talking about, and so this is for someone who was in a homeless shelter, or I didn't even have the shelter because they kick you out after so long. And then you've got to go and just be homeless on the street. And then you can come back to the shelter. And then I'm trying to go to school at the same time. I had no family. And there were days and days I didn't eat. So this is me thinking about that girl. And I have to have a job. I have to work. I've got to find something to eat and find something to go to school. So it's not that I do not understand what it's like to be between a rock and a hard place. But I also, the older I've gotten and I've seen the choices that I've made as opposed to choices that other people have made in similar situations and how they've went down the hill, right?
mhm.
And you have a choice. Don't let anyone strip you of your agency to do something. You can look for something else. You can say, well, where else could I go from this? There is another opportunity for you. So if
Right,
it's
but what
really
I'm
miserable every day, then I would say, well, you're going to have to get out of that. Or if you're like, there is wiggle room with this. Like, it isn't so bad. I'm not breaking a moral code that I think I'm going to burn in hell for. Okay. So let's say
right.
that's off the table. If it was something like that, I'd say you have to go. Your soul is worth more than this. I
Right,
know
but
that you're hungry.
I mean, I really want to focus on not that individual that's like, I got to get the hell out of here, but the leader who leads through challenging situations.
Mhm.
They've been, right, there's going to be layoffs because of AI. There's going to be staff reduction. There's going to be products perhaps that they don't agree with. Whatever those are, when they happen, the only choice isn't to run away.
No, no, it's
As the
ultimate
leader,
transparency.
their whole point is to try to continue to empower their team so that their team functions
Yes.
and connect with their team in a meaningful way. And I think that's still possible, even with the current corporate situations that we have going on.
No, like
And
the
even
leader,
a
he
small business person is going to have to make decisions sometimes that violates how they feel of their own ethics. But we still have to be able to find ways to communicate and let people still feel valuable and empowered in the midst of a situation we can't control. and a situation that is not of our own making, right? So that's what leaders are really faced with. And now I have to, instead of being the guy at Paycom and read this card to my team of
Oh,
25
yeah. No, you
members,
can't do that.
now I'm able to come in and connect with them still on a human level and empower them and help them understand that we will get through it. This is how we're going to do it. Connect with them, reassure them. All of those things still can exist even amidst this ethical misalignment that I think everybody is feeling.
Mhm. There's actually a good story of this, and I'm forgetting the guy's name, but he actually put out an open letter, the CEO of his company, and it was huge. It was literally all over the news. And he said, "AI is coming for your jobs. AI is coming for my job." However, it basically his assistant was like, "Alexis, I want you," and I'm not saying that you will not have a job in 6 months. I'm saying your career may not be here in 6 months. This is how quickly that we are looking at things. So this is a major corporation, and I'm like, literally, I'm trying to Google at the time to get his name because I've talked about it before. And so to your answer for that, if you're leader, it's utter transparency and support. He said, "I want you to, if you still want to have a job here, then what you're going to need to do is book a time with Alexa and me. We're going to go over your role and go over what I feel the skill sets you'll need to learn to be able to be competitive."
Yes,
And do
that
you
is the
know that
key.
a
Get
lot of them self-selected out? They were mad about it. There were employees who were like, "I can't believe he said this to us. Why would he do that?" They were so in it to your personality type, right? So on the internet, this blew up. So there is 1,000 of them that are just furious. "You can't talk to us like this. Who are you? Blah, blah, blah." And then there's other ones that said, "Okay, he's giving us a lifeline. That's good. At least
yeah,
if he tells me and I can learn, if I'm not picked to stay, I will have this experience to move forward." And I thought, he didn't pussyfoot around the bush on anything. He said exactly what he was seeing, exactly what he was worried about for himself. And he said, "All I can do is have you come in and let's see where we can go from this. But it is this serious." And he knew
yes,
it
and
was
I
going to
love
scare
that.
people. But I thought that was at that time, I read that. And at first I was like, "God, that would be hard to hear. You're not going to have a career anymore. That's terrifying. Why do you want to terrify your people?" But then when I sat back with it and I went, "Well, do you want to be lied to and then laid off in 2 months
Right.
without having any idea?"
And then discovered
No.
that your career's gone because everybody that does what you do has been automated.
Yep.
I mean,
Now's the
that
time to
is
take whatever savings you have and get a coach and go,
right.
someone to help you with
Or
your resume or whatever.
and
Yeah.
but think about how much easier it would be if all you had to do and you were able to do it with the damn CEO and
Mhm.
go make an appointment and say, "I love working here. I think I have skills beyond what's being automated. Let's work on it together." I think that's fantastic.
Yep, it was really
And
good. I'm Googling it now to get you
I
the
think
actual name.
people don't want to hear bad news. They don't want to be
Fiverr, it was
affected
the
by changes. They don't want, right? Can't I just stay and keep doing this and getting my paycheck over and over? And then on the flip side, they also want to play with AI and have technological advances. And so I understand the fearfulness from people about how could they talk to us that way. And you're right, there are specific personality
well
types that are definitely going to be offended by that. But the
Well,
truth
it was the
is,
Fiverr CEO. I just wanna say this is the Fiverr CEO, and this was in May of 2025, so this was literally
a
1
year
year
ago.
ago today, and he said, "AI is coming for your jobs. Heck, it's coming for my job too." And he said,
And
oh
that
god,
line
it
in
went
and
off.
of its and that line in and of itself is
Was
enough to say, listen, I'm in the same boat with you. It's coming for my job too. I'm innovating. I'm finding a way to succeed in this environment. And I want you to also. Let's talk about it. And I'm willing to give you my attention. All you
Mhm.
have to do is be willing to have the conversation. And I think that is fantastic from that
Yeah. He
CEO
said
from
he
Fiverr.
believed in Randall this is Michael Kaufman. He goes, I've always believed in radical candor and despise those who sugarcoat reality to avoid stating the unpleasant truth. The very basis for radical candor is care. You care enough about your friends and colleagues to let them know the truth." So I absolutely love that, and I believe that radical honesty and acceptance is the key to change. And he went on to say later, "You must understand that what was once considered easy tasks will no longer exist. What was considered hard tasks will be the new easy, and what was considered impossible possible will be the new hard. If you do not become an exceptional talent at what you do, a master, you will face the need for a career change in a matter of months. I'm not trying to scare you. I am not talking about your job at Fiverr. I am talking about your ability to stay in your profession in the industry." And
Man,
then he outlines what they do.
that is fantastic leadership, in my
Mhm.
opinion.
Me too.
He's not even cautioning them that you might lose your job here. He's saying straight up, and he knows he's at a CEO level. He's having conversations with other CEOs. They're laying off entire departments of people. That's what Paycom did here about a year ago.
Mhm.
Not much
Same
over a
time.
year, about that same time frame. And so he's saying it may be coming for you too. But the lifeline of, let me help you figure it out. Maybe you can stay here. I think that's a great example of a CEO that's tuned into his people and willing to work to
Me too.
continue to build who they are. I think that's fantastic.
It was, yeah.
And wow, we had such a lively discussion about ethics and AI and changes in leadership. And we are coming right to the end. And I don't want to run out of time before I give you a chance to really talk about what you do and how our listeners can find you and talk more about it and get your help in figuring it out for themselves.
Well, I help business owners who are in crisis. And right now, I work with a lot of clinic owners because our healthcare system is a mess. So I work with a lot of chiropractors, functional wellness, med spas. I have a lot of female clinic owners that really love working with me. And I work with them through 3 different agencies. They're all the same umbrella, though, same umbrella of Brand Lab Media. So if you were to go to hyperwavemedical.com, that kind of tells you we help people with an incredible technology, a medical device that we've developed, and we put it in, and then I help coach the clinics through how to have a successful practice, how to get back their work-life balance. And we have a various ways I do it, either one-on-one, or sometimes it's just as a supportive person for them. But I basically teach owners to go back to the basics. So if you're owning your own business, no matter what it is, if it's service-based, then you really need to track your numbers, know what numbers you're tracking, and go back to the basics. And then I help them do that. And then we lay out plans for them to expand so they can pull away from the business and become more of a CEO rather than the person doing all the fulfillment and running around like a chicken with their head cut off.
And I think that's fantastic. I see a lot of med spas that are their growth is very promotionally driven. So they do very, very well when they have sales and ads, and that sustainable growth comes from more than that. And so I
Yes.
think that is fantastic work that you're doing. I will link to all of her stuff in the show notes. What's your best social media platform for people to find you on?
Super Clinic Project Podcast. So if you go to superclinicproject.com, then you will find everything you want from me on there.
Oh, that's fantastic. If this conversation resonated with you, if it challenged how you think about leadership, decision making, or the patterns shaping how you run and grow your business, then my work lives beyond this podcast in your growth. Thank you. My work focuses on helping leaders and business owners slow down, recognize the patterns influencing their decisions, and build sustainable growth grounded in trust, human connection, and strong sales culture. You can learn more about that work at thegrowthvanguard.com. And if you're interested in going deeper, you will find links in the show notes to the Human Sales Playbook, which is a free resource to help you sell more like a human and connect in ways without feeling salesy, and 5 signs your growth is breaking that'll help you kind of see if you have issues other than just in the sales department. Small things that help you diagnose you have issues beyond just sales and marketing. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure and follow us. Deals with Heels is available on every platform and on YouTube, and subscriptions, follows, downloads, and telling friends help more than you'll ever know. If you're feeling especially generous, please leave us a review. Boy, I sure had a really good time talking to you, Jennifer. I think we could have one of those long Joe Rogan 3-hour-long podcasts talking about it. We're both so passionate about it and in such great alignment in our thinking. Very fantastic having you on, and I appreciate it and wish you the best.
Thank you so much. And everybody have a great day.
Until next time, everyone, stand strong in your power, especially when it gets uncomfortable. See you next time.